Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where we are in the Doman Enclave in front of Yugiri for the ranged DPS Rolequest. Regrettably, there's been no sightings of a blasphemy since our first encounter at Shoal Rock. As Tansu is surmised, it seems to fear confrontation. We, for our part, have tried to make good use of this intervening calm. Even now, Lord Hien and Gosetsu discuss how we might prevent other villagers from turning. If you would wait here for a moment, he would no doubt wish to hear your thoughts on the matter. Desiree, so glad you could come. As Yugiri no doubt explained, the blasphemy continues to elude us, so we have turned our attention to other matters we can and should address. After long discussions and much deliberation, we believe we have found a means to allay the growing malaise of our people. If you would, Gosetsu. The idea came to us after considering young Tombo's remarks about his father, whose body was never found and returned to Doma. Others no doubt share in his melancholy, unable to bury and mourn their loved ones as is their right. Put simply, they cannot make peace with their loss. The anguish, if left to linger, may consume them as well. That we might provide the people of Doma with comfort and closure, we will hold a national funeral at the Swallow's Compass. Those who choose to attend will be asked to present personal effects of the deceased they wish to enshrine there. Spirits reside in all things, be they living or inanimate, and though we may die, a part of us lives on in the items we cherished most in life. Therefore, in lieu of remains, these belongings will be afforded a place in the royal mausoleum, that the spirits of those lost to us may find their way home to Doma, and at last know peace. The announcement has already been made, and a great many are now engaged in the difficult task of deciding which keepsake will serve as their offering. It is not a decision to be made lightly, but I suspect they will have made up their minds by the time we go to collect their chosen tokens. I also hope to learn more about the departed from those willing to speak with me, for my benefit and for theirs. To break free of their sorrow, they must seek joy in the memories and the love they shared with the departed, and they help them find it. Might the Liberator of Doma be willing to favor the people with their presence as well? I doubt not that they will appreciate the gesture. Good. Yugiri, I leave the people of Isari to you. Gosetsu, might I ask you to... Apologies, my lord, but there's a small but most urgent matter I must first tend to. Avoiding his gaze? Very well, I shall not pry. Now, Desiree, let us go and pay a visit to the good people of Nomai. Right then, before we begin, I would remind you that you need only listen to the tales of their loved ones. As overseer of the ceremony, I see it as my duty to deliver their effects personally. Because of this, it is of the utmost importance that we keep clear of any beasts that might damage our cargo. It goes without saying how important it is that their offerings are delivered in pristine condition, and they will be no good to you in a fight while heavily encumbered. If stealth or flight are not an option, I must ask that you fight for both of us. We needn't worry unless the occasion arises. For now, let us be off. Hien is accompanying you. I must thank you again, Lord Hien, for this honor. My son would have been overjoyed to know that his katana would be enshrined at the Swallow's Compass. Nay, the honor is mine. I'm sure your son was a fine warrior. Aye, and so was I once upon a time. A samurai, as it happens, in service to your father when the Empire first invaded our lands. Though we were defeated, our spirits broken, my son Motosue was never one to lose hope. He was determined to follow in my footsteps, gave his everything in owning his skill with a blade. When I watched him train, I felt the pride I thought I had forsaken swell in my breast, and I knew he would restore our family to its former glory. Alas. He could have fled, perhaps started life anew as a vagabond of sorts. But he bore the burden and fought for Garlean, for fear of what the Imperials might do if he did not. It is plain he was a loving son and a warrior true. I will care for his blade as if it were my own, and see it given the honor and respect due a samurai of Doma. A samurai of Doma. Motosue would be so happy. Tombone? I realize it's quite large, but I wanted to offer this on behalf of my brother and our father, the Suzushiro. If you're willing, I would very much like to hear more about them both. My father, he was a carpenter. He was a good man, but if a bit stubborn, always thinking about his work. The only time he ever seemed to enjoy himself was when he had a cup of sake in his hand. When my brother came of age, he took up the trade as well. It brought them closer. I'd see them laughing over drinks together, or listening in silence to the crickets sing under the moonlight. I wanted to join them one day. This was their favorite sake. I thought they might miss it. I'm sure it will taste all the sweeter having come from you. I realize no one can ever replace your brother or father, but if you will allow, I would be honored to share drinks with you in their stead. When you're of age, of course. Thinking about my brother and father finding peace at the swallow's compass is comforting, like a weight that has been lifted from my heart. My husband, my dear sweet Maroya, never returned from Garlean, but perhaps now his soul might know peace. Please, take this painting brush to the swallow's compass. I shall handle it with the utmost care. Might we trouble you to tell us more about your husband? Moria was a kind and gentle soul. There was nothing he loved more in the world than to create. The brush never left his side, not even when he tended the fields. Any spare moment was dedicated to his craft, and he produced the most wonderful vistas of Yangsha. It was his dream to take us to Gogane. He would become a famous artist. Until he was conscripted. In the early days he would send drawings of the places they took him, but I know not how. But more time began to pass between each arrival, and then they stopped coming altogether. I know not in what far-flung land he died, but I pray it was as beautiful as his works. He sounds like quite a man, to hold fast to his art even when forced to endure such hardship. His soul will find peace, of that I have no doubt. This should be everything. Will you join me for a short reprieve before our journey back? Prepare for the escort quest. This was my warrior's favorite brush. Please do take good care of it. They put on brave faces, but the people of Nomai are still wracked with grief. It's the same as every village I've visited in recent days. But it is only now that I'm struck by the contrary nature of my goals. Having joined the Eastern Alliance and taken steps to revitalize the Enclave, I believed Doma was at last on the path of peace and prosperity. I still do. Yet by focusing so keenly on the future, I have neglected the past that yet haunts my people. Even if I do not give in to despair and become beasts that plague our lands like Turtonbo's brother, how are we to truly move forward if we are constantly looking back? Is there not someone for whom you yourself still grieve? Me? All things considered, I suppose it was only a matter of time before the subject was broached. Ha! She cuts the heart of the matter, and the young lord. For the best, I should think, for he cannot lead by example if he has not yet made peace with his own past. Ah, it was Gosetsu. I was uncertain. It was Gosetsu or Yugiri. 1,000 apologies, my lord. I was passing through, tending to the matters of which I spoke earlier, and I chanced to hear familiar voices in the distance. If I may be so bold, the people of Doma, one and all, understand the source of your pain. To lose your father in the turmoil of a failed rebellion, his staggering duty to a throne thrust upon you. Aye, how could you even begin to mourn when first you had to lead? It would behoove you to take part in the funeral rites, my lord. Take this time to make peace with your past, while it's still yours to spend. Though unlikely, if not impossible, were you to become a monster as well, Doma would surely be lost. I thank you for your counsel, Gosetsu. If I may ask, why is it you keep your blade at the ready? I thought this personal matter of yours to be naught but a trifle, or am I mistaken? Well, I find the katana a superior tool for peeling persimmons. Speaking of which, I do believe my stomach begs for sustenance, if you will excuse me. Training. To help slay the blasphemy, no doubt. Fitting that he should offer me counsel yet refuse to heed it in kind. He's not the warrior he once was, but he is wise, our obstinate friend. If I'm to be perfectly honest, it frightens me to recall it, the moment it came crashing down. We'd taken Doma Castle, victory was ours, but when we looked out and saw the banners of the 12th Legion marching toward us, the Crown Prince at the fore. No sooner had Gosetsu and I escaped, we received word that Xenos had slain my father. I remember how a fight went out of Gosetsu in an instant, how he wept for his lord, while I felt the weight of a profound duty bear down upon my shoulders. Crushing, suffocating, the heat of my own breath, the chill of my clammy palms. But duty demanded I master my emotions. When all those around me, Gosetsu included, were consumed by anger and a thirst for vengeance, I had to be in control. Under my orders we dispersed and fled to fight another day. To this day I have not stopped to reflect on my father's death. How could I, devoted as I am to finding Doma's way forward? But now I must, and so, having taken you into my confidence, would you see this through with me to journey's end? The keepsake I would offer up for a funeral is hidden in a place not easily reached. We will have to fly there, I'm afraid, but why not? My Yol will ferry us. Just a moment. The place we seek is Plum Spring in the mountains, shall we? we were there for the Stormblood Ninja quests, but that's about it, I think. My parents would bring me here for Hanami as a child. Its beauty and serenity was such that I could forget the realities of your occupation. Indeed, some of my fondest memories of family are here, which is precisely why I chose this place to conceal the singular gift my father bequeathed to me as a child. Charming, is it not? The great auspice Kitain Dasheng, set to reside somewhere along the Diarrhea chain. Funnily enough, the final boss of the Swallow's Compass dungeon. In those days, anyone and everyone knew the tales of his prowess. Reckless boy that I was, I once even tried to seek him out, hoping he might help us. I buried it here shortly after my coming-of-age ceremony. It seemed a fitting place for both parts of my childhood and of a final goodbye to my mother. More a keepsake of mine than his, to be sure, but he was never a man of worldly possessions. Still, I suspect he would allow himself a rare smile if we were to see it again after all these years. And that is precisely how I wish to bid him farewell. With a smile. It should go without saying, I would prefer it not become known that I kept this doll here. Wouldn't want the children to go jealous now, would we? And with that, I believe it's time we return to the Enclave. The two of you were away for quite some time. Is everything alright? There are yet more villages to visit and offerings to collect, but preparations are proceeding apace. Soon the people will have one less cause to be tempted down the path of despair. Of course, there still remains the problem of a blasphemy. The former conscripts will remain at the Hien until it has been dealt with. We will slay the beast in due time, but before that, I would be honored if you were present for the funeral rites. Pray speak with Igiri when next you visit the Enclave, and she will tell you more of the proceedings. Back to work. Laid to rest. As ever, your timing is impeccable. You but moments ago completed preparation for a funeral. I will inform Lothian of your arrival. You hear excellent. The blasphemy continues to shun our settlements, and I mean to make the most of the time its absence affords us. I assume you are planning to take part in the ceremony? Glad to hear it. Unfortunately, Gosetsu will not be joining us today. He's injured himself, as I knew he would with his secret training, and now grumbles from the confines of his bed. But he will be fine in due course. We may worry over his convalescence after the funeral. And the battle. There was a peculiar looking doll among the effects, but I cannot find no record of it in our stores. Would you happen to know who brought it? That would be Hien, but he doesn't want that to be known. The villagers should arrive ere long. Then we may begin. Lord Hien, I apologize, my lord, for my past transgressions. I yearn to believe my daughter was a kami reborn, but you're right, she's a monster. Words can express my shame for advocating the conscripts we sacrificed to appease the dead. Nay, this ceremony shall serve far, far better. And so, as a humble citizen of Doma, I offer my deepest gratitude and beg for your forgiveness. I would make an offering on behalf of my husband and son, as well as my dear sweet Minato. I throw myself on your mercy, Lord Hien. Allow them a place within the mausoleum, that their spirits may know peace. There's no need to beg forgiveness, Kisei. Please, rise. She will come for you. By the kami, she gave her life to draw out the blasphemy? Blasphemy, Izanami. Not an ideal group we have. 3 DPS. Minato holds me responsible for Kisei's death. I will keep its attention. Needs to charge that ray. Can you break its focus? Well struck.
For you, Father.
Late.
Concentrate.
A formidable foe indeed, but we will not be bested.
It is nothing.
FK, the air's thick with her malice.
The weave of a shinobi's power.
Can't move. Well, crap. I apologize for the untimely arrival, my lord. Gosetsu? What is that stuff? Pilgrimage proved a most enlightening experience, and is there a chance to discover the benefits of ascetic training. I may no longer be fit to wield a blade, my lord, but Shugendo affords me another way to turn the tide of battle. Stubborn as ever, I shall have to thank you later. Let's put an end to this. And this time with a healer.
For you, Father.
You have my thanks. I said something amiss. Quick, to me. Test of my will and training both. Hold fast, everyone. Well done, Gosetsu. Now I believe it's past time we put Minato's soul to rest.
The weave of a shinobi's power.
Tis but a scratch.
and down. A deceiver to the bitter end, but she still is a daughter of Doma. She will have a proper burial, and her family's belongings enshrined with the others. I have gathered you here today not to speak of the future, but to reflect on the past, to pay respects to those loved ones fallen on the field of battle. In honor of their sacrifice, these sons and daughters of Doma shall be given a place here, at the Swallow's Compass. While they no longer walk with us in life, they walk with us in spirit. Pray, never forget their bravery. The memories of their legacy give you comfort and strength. Maroya Motokawa, the aspiring painter. He was a man who saw beauty in all things, and one day would have become a renowned artist in Kugane. Motosue Jito, the warrior in training. He longed to become a samurai like his father, and bring honor to his family. Suzushiro Kodakuma, the carpenter, a man wholly dedicated to his craft, who hoped to one day pass on his talents to his two loving children. And lastly, Minato Shiogaki and her mother-in-law Kisei. Theirs was once happiness to be envied. Minato's parents were murdered by Imperial soldiers, and after being rescued by the Confederacy, Minato was given into the care of a village of Isari. Though she arrived with a broken heart, it was soon mended by the man who would become her husband, the son of Kisei, who herself had been born to Isari on winds of tragedy. Kisei was a child of the deep, born in Suinosato. For her gifts she was exiled, but with her courage and tenacity found a new home on the shores of a ruby sea. She was a devoted wife and mother, and though not related by blood, she loved Minato as if she were her own. That is how she lived, how they all lived, and how they should be remembered. Let your hearts swell not with sorrow, but with joy for their memory. Know that proof of their mark left on this world shall remain here, enshrined within the Swallow's Compass for all eternity. Let us still our voices, and in silence pray for their souls, that they may share in the peace we have found. Traditionally, the royal mausoleum is reserved for the ruling clans, but I have no doubt Lord Hien would approve of his son's decisions. Many tears were shed throughout the ceremony, not for grief but for relief, I think. Happiness, even. Well, I certainly wasn't expecting battle with a blasphemy as a prelude to the ceremony. At least now we may breathe easy, if only for a short while. The villagers have all returned home, and I believe it is time we did the same. I'm not yet well versed in healing magics, but thankfully it was enough to be of some use to Lord Hien. Never in my wildest dreams did I foresee Gosetsu embracing the ascetic arts. We've held a national funeral and slain a blasphemy besides. A rather productive day, would you not agree? The former conscripts will be elated to finally return home. Speaking of returns, I think I speak for all of us when I say your appearance at the Swallow's Compass came as something of a shock. What of your injuries from training? Quite painful for some time, I assure you. Despite my best efforts to reclaim my former skills, my back and my hips vigorously protested. I planned to sleep that I might be well rested for the morrow's hunt, but a voice called out to me. I was needed, and so I grabbed my cane and ran as quickly as my ailing body would allow. The cane suits you, Gosetsu, but your mastery of healing magic was a sight to behold. Almost as surprising as your resurrection following the fall of Doma Castle. I'm still but a novice in dire need of training. It is my hope that I will be able to refine my ascetic arts during my next pilgrimage. So you're leaving then? Why not, Lord Hien? Should you find yourself in dire straits once more, I shall fly to your side. Not as a samurai perhaps, but I will nonetheless give our enemies cause to tremble. And with that, I take my leave. Though it may be years, if not decades, until we truly make peace with our past, we have turned a corner and begun to heal. We may look to the future, unburdened by grief ignored and sadness denied. The path ahead is ever fraught with peril, but we shall walk it with eyes unclouded. And with pride. You've done so much for us, for Doma. I wish there was more I could do for you. If I may ask one last favor, before you leave, please inform our representative at Razatan that the blasphemy has been vanquished and the people of Doma are safe. With any luck, our experiences here will prove useful to other nations that yet grapple with these beasts. Safe travels, and may the Kami bless you. The people of Suinosato will be relieved to hear of recent events. I wonder what mother and father would say. Lady Desiree, you have returned. What word from Doma? The blasphemy is no more? That's the most wonderful news. I must inform the other delegates at once. Thank you again for answering our summons. If another threat should rear its dastardly head, I pray we can count on your assistance again. You can now die job gear level. You can now die the job specific gear for level 90 physical range DPS. More than loneliness. Thanks to you, the people of Doma have earned a short reprieve from the woes that befall our world. Should I find time to visit the Swallow's Compass, I shall keep you in my prayers as I pay respects. Good, but that shall be it for this episode. The people have been buried, well, symbolically at least. And the blasphemy is slain. Until next time, I'm Mace, and don't get lost.